Greg is back with us after a couple of weeks. We missed you, man.
Thanks for having me back. Sorry I was out. Kind of traveling the world trying to see what the Bills should be doing out there.
I got to give credit where credit is due.
Scouting.
I was at Section 5. I want to thank you, man. You did a great job in representing sort of the class and sportsmanship of what was going on at Section 5. I saw you at Center Court there sponsoring that event. So Connors and Ferris is really all about it. Thank you for that.
Thank you. It's near and dear to my heart. Part of my whole life is really based upon high school sports. That's where I really kind of got that catapult in terms of what it means to work hard, sacrifice, discipline, overcoming perseverance. And my high school football coach and basketball coach kind of really taught me those lessons. And so anything we can do to get back to the community so that the kids can have it. And it was a great tournament weekend.
It really was. Hey, kick this thing off for us now. Free agency, the Buffalo Bills, it doesn't appear as though there's a lot that they can do. What would you like to see them do, Greg?
The interesting thing for me is, the Bills are sticking with, wide receiver one Diggs. Davis is gone. But the thing I found interesting about Diggs or with wide receivers for the Bills right now is that Gabe Davis isn't even referenced as one of the top available wide receivers that's out there. And I find that telling because I think the rest of the NFL is seeing what the deficiency was that he had for the Bills in that wide receiver 2 position. Look, he's going to get picked up. He's going to get paid big money. But the demand for him is not as big as everybody thought it might be.
It's very simple. Here's your formula. You ready?
I'm ready.
You draft your wide receivers. You pay your defensive tackle free agents. Like the top defensive tackles in the NFL, the top 5 are out of your price range. The difference between the second tier and the third tier, the expensive versus the affordable, is not that much in the NFL. You take whatever cap you have, spend it on your run stuffers and pass rushers in the middle. You draft your wide receivers, and ideally, you have a 2 and eventually a 1 to take over for Diggs a couple of years from now.
It's interesting. Greg brought up the interesting thing about free agency. It's sort of gone sliding a little bit. Last year, of course, with the running backs, a big debate on who would go where and when. But now free agency is not the way it used to be anymore. Our guys really pricing themselves out of the market a little bit too much. The Gabe Davis comment that Greg brought up is an interesting one. Here's a guy who could really add to your offensive team, but do they have the money for it? Can you get the guy? Is he pricing himself too high? Free agency is totally different than it was maybe 10, 15 years ago.
Do you see the Bills being a player at all?
I would guess that they do, but it's a tinkering thing. Like to Duffy's point, you're going to have to go get your wide receivers young. You're going to have to go spend money on big defensive players and guys that can stop the big offensive air raids that are coming. That means your secondary. But then again, they've got to be ready to play. This is going to be interesting for the Buffalo Bills because you got an old secondary, but an effective one. But they've got to be able to play 18 games. This whole 17 games, 18 game season, that's a long season, and you need a lot of bodies.
The Bills got very lucky this week. A couple of teams released some high-end safeties. Now, the top of the tops, Seattle, for example, released both of their starting safeties from last season. Yeah. The Eagles released Barrett, if I'm not mistaken. Mm-hmm. Like, every high-end safety that gets released pushes the price down of the guys that they can afford. You may need one. You might need to replace both of them. You're not going to draft a safety because you need those safeties to know what they're doing in that defense that McDermott runs. The way things are shaking out, the extra cap money, the fact that this might be the greatest wide receiver draft of the last 15 years, I'm more confident than I was 2 weeks ago.
Greg, to wrap this up, is there a formula you see that maybe the Bills in their position being still over the salary cap right now can employ to do something to at least maybe maintain what they've got?
Yeah, I think Duffy has a great point. As a former defensive back, I played really well when the defensive line was really strong. The defensive line sets the stage for everybody that plays behind them. And if they can wrap up the guys that they had that really produced for them and pay those guys, it really helps the defense and the secondary behind them. And then it allows them on offense, they got to go get a receiver in the draft, 1 or 2 at least, to be that W2 for this year. And then maybe they can progress, like said, because the combine was so much fun watching those receivers.
And to Greg's point, when I played defensive tackle, if I would have played well, it really would have helped the defensive back. So I'm with you 100%.
You watched the combine too? You two are just sitting there just watching guys run around.
Oh, we're going to get to that.
A couple of dudes watching guys running around in shorts. Just a couple of normal dude things.
What'd you do on the weekends?
What?
It was either that or watch replay of the Bills games.
Greg, thanks for joining us. Welcome back. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.